Hi, I'm Kevin. Welcome to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today we've got an interesting project. As usual, I've dragged something out of the barn that's very near and dear to my heart. I've had it for a long time, and it's time to get it back going again. Say hello to the Frankenduster. This is a 1970 Plymouth Duster. I've had it for a very long time. I bought this car in 1988 to be my winter car while I parked my 68 Ford convertible. Well, that was a long time ago, and some funny stuff happened to it, and it didn't end up being my winter car. We ended up using a 1973 Plymouth Scamp. But for a while, I did drive it back and forth to work every day. I'll insert a picture of what it used to look like in those days in 1988 when it was red. And you can have a laugh at that. Originally when I got this car, as I said, it was red. It had fiberglass fenders on it. It did have bucket seats in it, but no console. The whole interior was done with diamond pleated vinyl and fun fur and other gross period things. It is originally a slant 6 car. It had a 904 transmission. By the time I got it, somebody had gone to the trouble of installing a mid-60s 273 V8 with an 833 4-speed, an 8 3/4 rear end. They put the big 10-inch V8 brakes all the way around that. I mean, they did a nice job on that part. But, I mean, it was just an old car at that point. So, anyway, I drove it back and forth to work for a couple of months till the engine let go. And I parked it behind the garage and started looking for an engine. Then I started looking for this. Then I started looking for that. And then the next thing you know, I was completely out of control and decided to make basically a fake 340 car with every option that you could possibly imagine that they ever had. So we ended up chopping up about 14 cars to make this one. Don't worry, they were mostly rotted out Canadian heaps. And we did end up with pretty much every single option that these cars ever came with, and then some. It's got, we'll start under the hood here. It's got a 340 V8 engine. It's not a good 340. It's a 73 low compression short block. It's got some very mildly worked 360 heads on it. It does have a nice vintage, proper, all date coded 1970 6-pack setup on it. The air cleaner, of course, is a B-body non-fresh air unit. It was modified a little bit because, as you can see, it's got air conditioning. That hasn't worked in a long time, but it did used to work. It was freezing inside this car. I hate that now that I'm thinking of what I did to that air cleaner base. But you know what? Back then you could buy those at a flea market for 25 bucks. They were everywhere. You can also see it's got speed control. That is hooked up to the 6-pack and it works. It's got variable speed wipers with the electric washer pump. It's got maximum cooling. This is stuff from a 75 or 76A body. It's got power disc brakes. The front brakes are the big ones from like a 79-ish Cordoba. It's got, on the back, it's got drum brakes, and I kind of think they're 11 by 2.5, although they may have gotten switched back to 10s. I'll find out when I get the wheels off. I just don't remember. But, I mean, it's got mostly, I tried to keep it all stock looking, even though it wasn't stuff that was stock to this car, of course. I put the hood scoops on, and they are cut and, you know, functional. It's got the hood pins. bumper guards. I wanted to give it kind of a Trans Am flair. That famous gray car, what's it called, Dustia, hadn't been made yet in 1988 when we made this. It's even got a little Richard Petty spoiler underneath the front of it. I mean, this thing looks mean. Over here we've got 15-inch rally wheels all the way around. It's got two 35/60s on the front, two 55s on the back. For years and years and years, I had a set of original 15 by 6.5 rallies on it. I ended up, don't ask me why, when I bought the new tires, I went with a set of 15 by 7 wheel Vintique wheels, and the backspace on them is just a tiny bit different, and the damn tires touch the fenders. I'm gonna have a little go at that. I might be able to just tweak something. It hardly ever does it. All you 70 Duster guys, you know how fun those are to find. Those bloody little badges. I bought a whole car just to get those. Here we've got a 71-72 factory moonroof. I cut this out of a 72 Demon Sizzler in a wrecking yard in North Carolina in 1990. We lopped the whole roof off the car there in the wrecking yard and brought it home. And then I drilled all the spot welds and put the frame inside my roof. So this is still the original roof from this car. It's just had the hole cut in, the frame installed, and this, look at this dust. This poor thing has been sitting for so long. It's got all green factory tinted glass in it. We added it's hard to see here, but a factory heated rear glass from a 74, I think, Duster. There's my little friend, and he's got a very clear message. Inside, got the rally dash, got the tough wheel, got the console with the Hurst 4-speed shifter there. We got pedal dress up. The bucket seats are from a 72 Duster. That's something that really bothers me. One of these days I'm going to get proper 70 seats and get those straightened out. And I also want to get a set of proper 1970 wood grain door panels. I'd like to update those. In the back here, I installed the fold down seat from a 74 Duster Twister that we picked up along the way. That went in pretty nicely. It was one of the easier things that I did on this car, because what I didn't realize till I started putting it in, aside from having to cut the package tray out, all I did was I just trimmed it back and laid the fold down seat package tray right over top of it. It worked like a charm. But when you go to put this in, a 70, 71, 72 Duster, all the indentations in the wheel wells and everything for the hinges and brackets, they're already all there, because these cars used the same structure and floor pan and everything as a 69 Barracuda, which came with that. And that's what this architecture is all designed off of. It's all just kind of reskinned 69 Barracuda stuff. It was so easy to put it in. Wow. At the back here, it's got a proper 1970 Go Wing. It's a real one from back in the day. You can see this here. This is the fuel filler neck for a car with a fold down seat, but it directly replaces the straight one in any Duster. If you ever find one of these in a wrecking yard or something, I put this in every Duster I ever owned, even if they didn't have a fold down seat. You cannot believe how many things you're trying to put in your trunk and it hits that damn gas filler pipe. This thing clears up a lot of space inside your trunk. There we go. This thing has got so much room. You can see right through here. I've had 12-foot pieces of lumber in this car. I've had a half a bundle of 2x4s. I opened the sunroof and stuck them through into the trunk. That looked pretty hilarious coming home from the lumberyard. I've had a dirt bike in here on its side. This car, you could put anything in this thing. There's the proper brackets and stuff for the wing. I had this made at Carlisle many years ago. Very few people have ever grabbed me and said, "Hey, does that mean this thing has 3 carburetors?" Yeah, it does. The tips, it's got bumper guards. Another interesting thing that I've only ever seen one other set of this stuff in my life. Oh, it's got racing mirrors too. Is this stuff. This is one of your more rare Duster parts. I've only ever come across this set in a wrecking yard, and I pulled it off and put it on mine. I only ever saw one other set. If any of y'all know what year cars these were offered on, or trim package or anything, please put a comment below what the heck they're off. I think I got them off a 71 or maybe a 72. It might have been a 72 Gold Duster I got them off, but it was a long time ago and I really can't remember. Want to open the sunroof? Here we go. Opened it in years. There. So that's what it looks like open. Pretty cool, eh? And it was a pretty crude job that they did installing these things. They air chiseled out the cross brace that the dome light bolts to, and then I'm not sure how they opened up the hole in the roof. But they did. And the little subframe kind of went in there, kind of almost like a picture frame to reinforce the opening. And then all the framework and everything for the actual sunroof just goes on with little screws, and you're all set. Now, if I said earlier in this video that the sunroof came from a 72 Demon, I am mistaken. It came from a 71. And I'll tell you how you can always tell the difference. In 72, they took the factory dome light and they moved it back here in the little space left between the sunroof and the original back window. But in 71, what they did was, I don't even have the bezel for this anymore, but there's one on each side. These are from early 60s B-body convertibles. They use these, they put one on each side. You can see the other one there. That's how you could tell if a sunroof is 71 or 72. This one is 71. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to give this car a good going over from front to back, a good cleaning for one, and it's going to get all the fluids flushed and changed. The rear end, it's got a 391 gear in it right now, which I put in it back in the 80s when traffic moved a little slower than it does now. Everybody on the highway now wants to go 130, 140 kilometers an hour. I try to go on the highway in this thing with that 391 gear, I'm going to get run over by a dump truck. So what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to put a 323 in it so I could drive it on the highway again. And I'm toying with the idea of putting a 5-speed in it so I can put my 391s back in at some point. But I'm still not sure about that. The car is just, it's all Mopar. There's no AMD stuff on this. There's no year one repop Chinese stuff on this. Everything on this car is from Detroit, man, in the 70s. Because we couldn't get that stuff back then when I was working on this. Every panel on it is a 1970 Duster panel. They're not all from this car, but they're all real, original Detroit panels. And I don't know if I want to start mixing in T5s and stuff like that. So I'm on the fence with that. I guess another alternative would be an 833 overdrive. I could try that. But I don't know. I'm going to see how it drives with the 323. And if I like it, maybe I'll just leave the 4-speed and the 323 and call it a day. Anyway, next time you see it, it's going to be up on 4 stance, the wheels off, and we're going to start going at it. Okay, here we are. Got her on 4 stands now. Let's see if the doors still work. Yeah, not bad. I mean, solid body structure wise, the car is pretty good. I did a lot of work on it over the years, but most of the body work was like bolt-on panels. The trunk had the usual rot in the lip here, so I found a really nice 70 trunk lid. I just swapped it. Same thing with the doors. I think I actually bought a 70 Duster at a towing auction, and I got the hood, the doors, and the trunk lid off it. The fenders I brought from North Carolina, I think the same wrecking yard I got the sunroof from. The quarter panels, believe it or not, are mostly original. Like the wheel lips and that. This is all the original stuff from this car. They had bottoms put in them. Just the bottom here and the bottom there. The rest of the quarter panel, untouched. The rear rails in this car, they were pretty punky, and I got a really nice bargain on a set of Southern rear rails, so I blocked her up in my old garage when I still lived at my first house, the little bungalow, and we did the rear rails in the garage, and that really solided up the back. The front rails are actually not too bad. It's still got its original torsion bar cross member in it. And the sockets have never spun. I did make up some plates and kind of reinforce them a bit to make sure they never spin. This front rail is original, untouched. The left front rail, it's hard to see, but many years ago it was pretty bad. Just in this area here, because stuff had gotten trapped between this shield, that splash shield in the bottom of the rail, and taking it out. So what I did was I basically cut the bottom of the rail out, left the sides of it in, and I sectioned in a piece of 2x3 square tube, which pretty much fit it perfectly, and it's solid as a bloody rock. Oh, look at that. We have some unwanted guests inside our left front frame rail. They're going to get evicted. Mice. Unreal. The inner fenders, the aprons I changed. They came out of, I got my finger in front of the lens again. They came from a 67 Dart, I think. The rad support was from a 73 Scamp air-conditioned car, because I needed the one that would take the 26-inch rad. I'm pretty sure the tie bar and the grill are the original ones from this car. The firewall was not touched. I just modified it for air conditioning, so that wasn't mucked with much. It's the right 1970 firewall, and the air conditioning stuff in it is from a 1976 car, which was interesting, trying to get the 1970 dash controls to work with the 1976 box, because it's a little bit different. But I goofed around with a little vacuum pump and some stuff, and I did manage to get it to work. So rather than the old style metal vent that would be down here, this is the plastic one from the 76. I also have a factory original performance indicator, and I have a working Mopar Performance, I'm sorry, Direct Connection Performance Timer. That is a fun little toy. Not really all that accurate, but that's something fun to play with anyway. What else did we put in this thing? It's got the light group, so it's got fender top turn signals, map light under the dash, and trunk lights. It also has, I don't even got the battery hooked up, but it's got a fuel pacer, which I pulled out of a 75 Cordoba. So what that is, if you're not familiar with it, there's a little vacuum switch. Where is it? Oh, here. This little gizmo here. Let me get the light. That gizmo there, that is the fuel pacer. Now, all it is a vacuum switch. So what happens if the fuel pacer switch decides that you're being too aggressive with the throttle and therefore wasting fuel, it turns on the left fender top turn signal. Ding, lights up to say, hey, you're wasting gas. So you can take that as a shift light or take your foot off the gas light. Anyway, I'm going to get the creeper in a minute and go underneath and see what things look like under there. Alrighty. Let's take a fast tour of the bottom of it. And then I got to go barbecue. And then it's Daytona 500 time. Uh-oh, look, rust bubbles in the bottom of the door. Yikes! Oh well. You know what? This car and me have been through so much, a little rust bubble ain't gonna stop our love. Okay. Okay. So here we've got a set of frame connectors. I have no idea what kind they are. They might be direct connection ones. They might be Lakewood. I have no idea. My dad got them for me for my birthday when I was a kid. Back here you can see, yes, at some point I did change it back to 10-inch brakes. Probably because it needed a brake job and I got a old Fifth Avenue or something that had all brand new 10-inch brakes on it. That's my guess how it got those. The exhaust is all the original stuff that I put on it in 1988, except for the mufflers. I had to change them once. And of course, the replacement ones are never as long as the factory style ones that were on there, so I had to cobble it up a bit, but that's okay. It works. This thing ain't going to Barrett Jackson, it goes to cruise night. You can see it's got a Adco sway bar on the back. I think the bolt in that bracket is coming out. I don't think I should be seeing that much of it. I'll have a look at that. Here you can see some of the bolts in the inner fender for the that's the pivot bracket for the fold down seat. We didn't have little MIG welders back in those days, so we did everything with, we brazed, we riveted, we used nuts and bolts, we did what we had to do to get it together. But anyway, it is what it is. It's all good. Okay, let's see what's under here. Oh, here you can see on the drive shaft, there's the pickup and the flying magnet for the direct connection performance timer. That's how it calculates everything. So what you do when you're calibrating it, you run a known distance, like you use the mile markers on the highway or something, and the further you go, the more accurate it is. And that's how you set the thing up. You can see here it's also got, you can see the torsion bars. They're direct connection torsion bars. I can't remember what ones they are. I don't think they're the full-blown race ones. I think they're the ones that they used to sell as, like parking lot solo torsion bars. My guess is they're the equivalent of like a 383 bar. I'm not sure. I should look up the numbers. What's the number? I can't see that one. What's this one? 451L. So if anybody knows what a 451 bar is, it also says 352 on it. Let me know. There's the shifter and all the linkage. It's got a pretty beefy sway bar on the front too, also Adco. That's pretty much really the only kind of real aftermarket stuff we have on here. But you can see it's crusty and ugly, but it's all relatively solid. I do see a few little voids under here I'm going to have to to fix up to keep the little furry creatures out, because I opened the door and I can definitely smell they've been in there. It's not a full-blown infestation, but it's also not good. We want to nip it in the bud. Anyway, that's it. Time for me to go barbecue some footlongs and get ready for the Daytona 500. All right. See ya.